Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Station, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, Amazon Music, Audible, iTunes, and more. I am Dr. Marissa, your host. You know me as the Asian Oprah. I was actually introduced to Oprah as such, and she looked at me, looked down, looked at me, smiled, and said, "Nice pants." And it took everything for me not to say, "Do you want them?" And we're continuing to celebrate Chinese New Year. Yes, I know you thought I was Swedish, but I am actually Chinese. And to celebrate, I thought I would share a little bit about my Pei family. My father's family is actually quite well known in China. The Pei name is associated with a beautiful lion forest garden in Suzhou outside of Shanghai. And my great-great-great-great-grandfather actually built the city and built this beautiful summer home that my father and his 5 other brothers and 3 sisters would spend the summer at. It's the first home that had a domestic elevator with a, I believe, 6-car garage and a lake in the front. And every single sculpture was in the shape of a lion. And they were natural stones that were brought, legend says, from the Dead Sea. And it is actually a tourist attraction. If you go to China, make sure you look up Lion Forest Garden, and you can see some of my heritage with the Pei family. And if you're wondering if you've heard that name Pei before, it is actually my father's cousin, who is the famous architect I.M. Pei, who designed the East Building in the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C., as well as pretty much a famous building in every major city in the States and abroad, as well as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Ohio. And my favorite one of his buildings is the book building, the John F. Kennedy Presidential Library and Museum in Boston, where it kind of looks like books on a bookend. That's my favorite. Very grateful to share his lineage. And he actually credits my father's summer home, Siziling, Lion Forest Garden, for some of his inspiration when he was growing up. Now, this is a show about hope and happiness, so there's no gossip, no scandal, and no bad news. At least, if I'm going to give you part of the problem, I'm going to try to bring the solution as well. And one of the problems we've been experiencing, no thanks to the pandemic, is a labor shortage. So if you are looking for something new and want to see the pandemic as an opportunity to find a new career that involves travel, take a listen.
Good morning. This is Dr. Marissa. You know me as the Asian Oprah. And, during this past 2 years, the pandemic has resulted in a nationwide labor shortage that is impacting the hospitality industry. Here to discuss these challenges is Rosanna Maeta of the American Hotel and Lodging Foundation, which has a new employee recruiting campaign called A Place to Stay. Welcome, Rosanna.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So why is the hospitality industry facing this crisis?
It's a great question. If you think about where we were 2 years ago, hotel and airlines were the first 2 industries largely affected because we had to virtually shut down overnight when when quarantine struck and everything came to a halt. And here we are 2 years later. Thankfully, the hotel industry is on recovery. We're seeing a lot more people feeling comfortable traveling again and staying in hotels. But at the same time, a lot of the employees didn't come back at the speed to which we had to accommodate our guests. So now we're down about 1.2 million jobs since the start of the pandemic. So we're launching a new nationwide campaign, the Hotel Industry, A Place to Stay, to encourage people who are looking for jobs to consider the hospitality industry, the hotel industry, because we have a lot of career pathways, and this is a place where you can start somewhere and end up somewhere completely different, all within the same company.
Wonderful. It's like a new opportunity. So tell me about the goal of this Place to Stay campaign.
Yes. We want job seekers to know that the industry is a place where you can really grow a career, and you can have terrific benefits along the way, a lot of fun. It really is a fantastic industry with warm-hearted people. You know, I feel like that's the case with a lot of people-facing industries. That's what our industry is all about. You'll run into people who have worked in the industry for decades because it is so fun, because it is so rewarding. You're part of somebody else's travel experience and journey, and having a part in that and making that experience special really appeals to a lot of people. But I think more than anything, what we really want to showcase is that you can get a start in this industry, and we spend time to groom you and grow you so that you can rise, you can get promoted, you can get to that next level, whatever that may be. I think a lot of people think about, you know, those roles that you see when you first walk into a hotel, a front desk agent, a valet, the bellman, the housekeeper. But there's a myriad of opportunities available, over 200 pathways. If you think about all the people involved in hotel operations, it's culinary, it's bartenders, restaurants, servers, it's human resources, it's sales, it's marketing, it's accounting and revenue, technicians, all sorts of wonderful jobs that you can access with a lot of skill or no skills at all. And so I think that's the beauty of this industry.
That's a great way to look at it. Like, I love your motto, A Place to Stay. It's not just for the employee, it's also for the traveler. It's time we have a place to stay, right? Now, what can your organization do? What can your organization do to attract employees in such a competitive market? We've all heard about, the help wanted signs everywhere. Mm-hmm. What can we do?
So we're really looking to focus on, the amazing benefits that you get when you get into the industry. We want to make sure that people are aware, wages are really competitive in our industry for all entry-level jobs, and certainly once you move up through the ranks. But more than wages, people are looking for benefits. They're looking for health care, 401k, tuition reimbursement. We have all of that. We also have a lot of terrific perks. As I mentioned, you can travel if you have a travel bug. A lot of hotels have multiple properties in one city or around the country and even around the world. And so you really can start in a company and travel and see the world and try different things in different roles without having to leave the industry and start from scratch all the time. So I think that's really unique to our industry. And so we're really trying to highlight that. And we're trying to encourage people who are looking to consider us. And so that's the start of this multi-effort, multi-year advertising campaign.
It's beautiful. I think, the sense of hope that I'm getting listening to you is not normal. Usually we think of what's been happening as a negative thing, but, I do life balance coaching, and there's a lot of people who hated their jobs. Hashtag BC19, the time before COVID. Mm-hmm. So this is, and they love to travel, but the only time they can travel is in the 2 weeks of vacation. So here's an opportunity. I'm doing a commercial for you. Here's an opportunity to want to try something different. You can travel and work and get benefits. So where can we go for more information on this?
People can visit our new website, thehotelindustry.com. We list out all of the different career pathways. You can enter your skills and find what jobs will match to you. And you can also see what jobs are open in your community right now and apply directly.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you wanted to add before we say goodbye for now?
Just want to thank you for having me on, raising awareness of the hotel industry. It's a terrific place to work, to stay, to grow your career. So thank you very much.
And another problem that I've been talking about with a focus on solution is homelessness. I started this focus with my show, The Salvation Army and their Center of Hope. And today I continue with a delightful interview with someone that I met at Corey Feldman's launch party. She's the founder of Changing the Faces of Homelessness. And I got to bring her in studio. You will see her interview after the break. Get ready to learn and understand the homeless situation in a way that you may not have before. I know it certainly changed the way that I looked at it, and I hope it does for you as well. That's when we come back here on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Radio Station, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher, Audible, Amazon Music, iTunes, and more. Why? Because I want the maximum splatter zone for hope and happiness. You know, I'm on a Happy 88 mission, 88 million more happy people in the next 8 years. And so my topics and guests are to that end. And certainly one of the populations that is not real happy right now, probably even more so thanks or no thanks to the pandemic, is our homeless population. And if you missed the show that I did with the Salvation Army and their new Center of Hope, please go to my YouTube channel, free subscribe, and you'll see that. But I wanted to continue that focus. And I met a wonderful young woman who was at Corey and Courtney Feldman's release of their fabulous new Love Box set. And she came up to me and we struck up a conversation and she told me about her work with the homeless. And so I invited her on the show. Katrina Williams is the CEO of Changing the Faces of Homelessness, and she started her career as a case manager serving the seriously mentally ill population for over 20 years in Phoenix, Arizona. She worked with Value Options and the Regional Behavioral Health Authority. Something happened that she'll tell us in the interview that made her specifically want to help the homelessness with her career. And she wanted to find a housing program with structure, resources, and tools to meet the homelessness population's realistic needs. She was determined to do it. She's done it. And now welcome to the show, Katrina Williams.
Thank you, Dr. Marissa. And thank you so much for having me on your show to talk about a crisis that we're dealing with today.
Absolutely. And so I left out the story part that you sent me because I want to hear it, because I think it's important that people understand or have a little bit more compassion. I think most of us, we say we want to help homelessness, but then, we're driving along, we see the people walking and talking to themselves. We see the people, begging for money or food. So help me understand what drew you to this field, what happened with your friend Gary, and that whole story.
Well, I actually had relocated back to California back in 2019. I was born and raised here. I left back in 94, was gone over 20 something years. And I was shocked to come back to see the devastation of homelessness. You know, being raised here in Los Angeles, we never saw tents on the streets and the crisis that we're dealing with today. So when I came back, I had accepted a position at Volunteers of America. And my program manager there was Mr. Reggie Clark, phenomenal man. I call him Joe Clark. He reminds me of Joe Clark from the movie Lean on Me. And one of my clients were Gary Perez Hayes. Gary was he was something else. He was difficult to engage in the beginning, like a lot of our homeless populations are, because they don't. Well, let me back this up. They have trust issues. You know, they're already down on their luck. They already is at the bottom of the pit, and they deal with a lot of different agencies and caseworkers, and they just feel like their voices are not being heard. So Gary wouldn't come to his appointments because we, of course, had to develop what we call a housing stability plan to help them regain ownership of their lives and to move into independent housing. And for 2 months, I tried to engage with Gary, and he just wouldn't come into the office. But I kept noticing him out there in the quad. And as I was noticing him, he was losing weight. He was just looking terrible. So I went out there and I said, look, I need to meet with you in the office. And he came. And when he came into the office, I had his file. And I just looked at him and I said, look, I said, Gary, this is off the record. I'm closing your file right now. I said, because I'm really concerned about you. And he looked. And his eyes just got big and he began to cry. And that's when he began to tell me his story. That's when I found out that Gary was an actor. He was in Hollywood. He was Corey Feldman's best friend. And he was broken. He was dealing with alcoholism. Gary would drink from the morning to the night. And he was just sinking into darkness. And we began to develop a plan, and we started talking about rehab, and he was all for it. He started coming to his appointments every week. I was speaking with Corey. Corey was actually what we call like a support team. So he was a part of the support team. Reggie and our other staff members, we truly wrapped ourselves around Gary.
And let me interrupt for 1 second, because some people may not know who Corey Feldman is and the extent of Corey Feldman, especially if you're a millennial, go Google it. But for us older folk, I'm not saying old, I'm ageless, but Corey Feldman is an iconic, legendary actor. He started as a child actor at the age of 3. He's been on my show twice with his lovely wife, Courtney. He Stand By Me, Gremlins, Goonies, what else? I mean, there's just like, and he's a musician. He was also best friends with Corey Haim, who committed suicide. So just to give a little background, excuse me for interrupting, but we know Corey, like we're Corey Feldman, but people, need to know who Corey Feldman is.
Yes, exactly. When I met Corey, I'm gonna be honest, when I first met him over the phone, at that particular time, I wasn't starstruck because it was about Gary and serving his needs. But trust me, when I met him in person, I told him, I said, I'm starstruck right now because he is phenomenal. And I truly love Corey and Courtney. Shout out to them, y'all. They really, truly rock.
Sorry, I interrupted you. So you gave a plan. We
gave a plan, and Gary was coming in once a week. We had set him up for mental health. Trust me, mental health is real, y'all. It's real, real. For therapy, and he was on his way. He agreed to go into detox, but his only concern was, he said, well, Katrina, he said, when I go through this process, I go to detox, then I go into rehab, what's going to happen to me when I come out? He said, I'm 57. I was in Hollywood. Where can I go get a job? I'm old. I get clean. What type of housing would I go into? And that's where I really didn't have an answer because it was the truth. There's no services after you go through the process. I should say limited services. It's limited services. after you go through the process of getting clean and then coming out, now you have to restart your life. And what we need to really understand is that we need to have services ready for people who's ready to restart their life. When you've been living broken for years, you ain't had a home in years, you don't have family or supports, you need someone to help you navigate through the process, because it's a process of taking your life back. Mm-hmm. And on Thursday, October the 23rd of 2019, I transported Gary to College Hospital. And he was intoxicated, but he was still willing to go. And we got there and they did his evaluation, and they couldn't hold him what they call on a 5150. And, he just told them that he was fine. And that Friday morning, they called me to let me know they was discharging him. And I spoke to Gary, and he said, okay. He said, well, I know you're disappointed. And I said, no, I'm not. And he said, I'll see you back at home, which he called the shelter, which was his home, which another thing that we need to tackle, y'all. Shelters are not home. It's just a temporary placement. Mm. So he went back to the shelter. I was off on Fridays and Saturdays, and he knew that. Sunday, I got to the shelter. I went out to greet him. I really thought he was sitting in the quad. He wears this white sweater with a hoodie, and he will always have a purple keychain around his neck. So I really thought I saw him out there. So I said, I'm not going to bother him today. I know he had a hard weekend. I will see him on Monday. Monday came. I went out to the quad. I didn't see him. I went to his bunk, and his bunk was completely made. Shoes and things underneath the bed, and the purple keychain was on top of his bed, on top of his bunk. Now that raised the red flags, because he never, ever went anywhere without that purple keychain. Mm. So I went back into the office. Mr. Clark was in there. I'll talk about with the head people. I even believe Hilda Solis was there that day. And I walked I just barged into the meeting, and I was like, Reggie, I said, something's going on. I said, we need to find, Gary. I think he's missing. And Reggie was like, really? And I said, yes. And when I gave Reggie that look, trust me, Mr. Clark, he got up. He said, okay, we're gonna send out the
go police. Look for him. Mm-hmm.
Go look for him. And at 2:00, Dr. Marissa, my clinical director, came in. They pulled me out, and they said they found Gary. So I was like, let's go get him. Where is he at? Mm-hmm. Where is he at? Like he know better. Mm-hmm. And the look in her eyes, I knew then. And she told me that he took his life on Saturday, October the 25th. Mm. He lied down on the railroad tracks and took his life. Oh. And I ended up speaking with his cousin Sherry, and phenomenal woman. And he always talked about Sherry because he was the only child. So Sherry was like his sister. Mm. And he called her Saturday morning, and he spoke with her all day. And he talked about, the issues of, doing the rehab and coming out and not being successful, being homeless again. And I told her then, I said, you know what, this will not happen again on my watch. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I have had clients pass away. I have had clients who have OD'd. But to work closely with an individual and to take them all the way to the breakthrough, and then to realize that, he still felt like the help wasn't going to be there.
No
that
hope.
We have to do something to change. Yes, no hope.
Yeah. My heart goes out. I'm so sorry for your loss. Thank you for sharing that heart-opening story. And I saw you get a little teary, which is good, because tears are the disinfectant that keep your heart soft. And we're going to come back. We have to take a quick break for the news and the weather. But when we return, we're going to hear more of how this heart-opening experience made Katrina Williams try to find a solution, which is why she's on the show. I want to find solutions to things like homelessness here on Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Back Your Life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back. You're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, CNBC News, NBC News, and NBC Sports radio station, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere, including my YouTube channel, where you can not only listen, but watch as well. It's a free subscribe. And when you do, you'll get an alert at 8 a.m. weekday mornings for a new show dropping. And I think we're on show number 631. Thank you for all your support. This is the number one 8 a.m. show in the Inland Empire on the number one talk news station. So thank you for your continued support. Thanks to all that help with this show. All the guys at KCAA, Fred Lundgren, owner, Mark Westwood, station manager, and all the guys in the back end production team. I hope I don't forget anybody. Miguel, Joe, Rick in the morning. And if I forgot you, I still love you. Thank you so much. And this particular episode is here thanks to our sponsor for today. His name is Jaime Gregory, also known as Rare Breed, and he is an executive board member of Ceasefire. His organization provides gang intervention by interacting with youth and young adults whose lives have been affected by gang violence or being part of a gang. Ceasefire also provides life skills training with community outreach, with providing victim support to families who lost their lives to violence. Rare Breed is also a recording hip-hop gospel artist whose ministry through hip-hop brings inspiration with God to a new generation of lost souls. And you can find him at www.ceasefire.com. And today we're talking about homelessness, not the problem, but the solution. And for those of you who missed my on-location report with the Salvation Army, the statistics are clear. Of all of the people who are homeless in the United States, 1 out of 5 live in California. That's not good. And it's right now, the stats are 160,000 homeless in California. So my guest today has a solution. Her experience with Gary that you heard about before the break led her to the solution that we're going to hear about right now. So welcome back, Katrina Williams, and thank you for sharing your heart-opening story about your friend, your client, Gary, his taking his own life. It must have been very difficult. So what was that feeling tone that led to your action at that point?
Well, after Gary took his life, it was now about building some real services to meet our population realistic needs. He needed housing upon discharge from rehab. He needed housing with services, meaning he needed case management. He needed someone to help him sit down and set goals, new goals. Because remember, he was an actor that had fallen. And his biggest fear was returning back to Hollywood. And I told him, you could do it. I watched this episode on Different Strokes. He was hilarious. I told him, just come back and do stand-up comedy, because that's what it's about, empowering our people. Sometimes you in a dark space and you can't really see what your capabilities are. And you need someone that can see you through your darkness and point you to the light. And so that's what we talked about. And he was like, I don't know if I can do all stand-up. I said, look, you are so funny. I said, naturally. And we started, talking about these things. But they don't see the services. We could talk all day long, but if they don't see action, our population that we serve, they fall back. And I'm being honest with you. Mm-hmm. Because they're here to talk 24/7, 365. It's the movement that they don't see. Mm. And that's what got me reared up and charged up and ready to go. Uh-huh. And I went and I spoke with Mr. Clark, and I sat down with him, and actually I was sitting at my desk and started writing the program at my desk. And I went in there and I shared it with Mr. Clark, and he said, you have something here. He was very supportive. And before I left the LA, I told Mr. Clark, I'm going to open up housing with supportive services. And I took a position at PATH in Los Angeles, and I became an outreach worker. And when I was out there on Skid Row, working with the homeless population straight up now directly on the streets, I'm here to tell you, there are people out there that really want change. And I met several. Actually, I housed over 25, permanently housed in apartments, families, and individuals. But when we met down, we set goals. And they was happy. When I tell you they was happy and motivated when they accomplished just one goal. If that meant going to get an ID, if that meant going to get a social security card, if that meant going to DPSS and applying for benefits, when they came back and said, Miss Katrina, we did this. Now it was the motivation factor. They felt empowered. They felt that they knew someone was listening. And trust me, I met with them once a week. And once we went through that process and they started meeting those goals, they was excited about housing. And that's what it's all about. You need to be excited about housing. And they was excited. And once they got into their apartments, they were so appreciative. And the first thing they would say was, Miss Katrina, how do we give back? What can we do to pay it forward? And I would tell them all the time, pay your rent once we back out the program, because we do cover their rent. The homeless agencies do cover their rent. And once we come out and the funding stop, continue to work, continue to pay your rent, keep the unit clean, because that keeps the report open with me and the landlord. And then I can go out there and get someone else and house them with these landlords that I truly appreciate, because I go to them straight up with no chaser. I say, look, I work with the homeless. They ain't got no credit. They got bad credit. But they are working with me, and we have sat down and we have developed housing stability plans, and they're meeting their goals. And I would advocate for them to the landlords. And that's heavy when a landlord takes your word. That's heavy. And that's how I would tell my clients, look, they're banking on me right now off of what I say. So when I bring you to them and open up that door, all you have to do is present yourself the way you present yourself with me, but letting them know that you have accomplished these things and you're ready to move forward. And they were housed. And then I started this program just off of that, watching my clients, doing it already on the streets, and remembering the life of Gary. And I implemented a structural program with housing. So now we're open, y'all. We're open. We have 2 sites. We have our Catalina site that service our TAY group, which is transitional age youth from the ages of 18 to 30. Now, the program,
Okay, before you start talking about the program, I'm getting teary-eyed here because just, the story and what you're led to do and the solutions that I'm going to give you Dr. Marissa's Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award. I am so grateful that there are people like you who are doing something. You touched on so many BS, bullshitaki belief systems out there that I wanted before, and I want to know about your program, and we're going to tell y'all how you can support. There's an event coming up, but let's put the moose on the table. That's my Canadian version of talking about the elephant in the room. When people talk about homeless, and this is stuff that I've heard, and I have to be honest, when I see people begging and I see people homeless, the BS that is around, you can't help the homeless because they really don't want to work. You can't help the homeless because they're addicted and that's the easy way out. And so it's hopeless. You can't help the homeless because we've thrown money at it. I had Mark Ridley Thomas, when he tried to increase sales tax to get millions of dollars, and that didn't work. Lots of organizations have tried and it didn't work. So there's this horrific belief system, BS, out there that there's nothing that we can do. It's just, they just need to get a job. They just need to stop taking the easy way out. They just need to. And then there's people who are taking advantage of the system, and there's people in the homeless. It's like a gang because they're organizing and they're stealing and they're obviously. I'm not believing this. I'm just saying this out loud because I think we need to talk about it. We have to really say, no, that's not true. And when you were talking about people who say, I want to give back, we don't hear about that, right? We don't hear about people saying, I really want out. I don't want to be homeless. I don't want to live on the streets. I don't want to be addicted. I want something different. I want to be able to start over. We don't hear about that. All we see is people putting tents up and, not having to pay rent. And that has to stop. Mm-hmm. That has to stop, which is why I have you on my show. I have solutions on the show because I want to balance out what mainstream media shows as the face of homeless. And I love the name, Changing the Faces of Homelessness. The picture that you just painted, Katrina, that's what brought me to tears. We don't know about those. And I'm so grateful to know that is out there. And we're talking about not the people who, I did a little work in mental health as well. And I was heartbroken when Camarillo Mental Hospital closed because there are people who are homeless who really can't do all of those things that you're talking about. They need care.
Yes, they do.
So that we're not talking about that population. We're also not talking about a subset of that population, which are veterans who come back, who serve our country so well, and then they come back and they have PTSD, they have all kinds of mental illness, and they can't work. It's not a matter of just go get a job. So, you please speak to the prevalence. And, you talked about the one hole, which is housing. What else do solutions for homelessness need?
Dr. Marissa, you had a lot of things on point, and I just, what kept coming to my mind is the stigmatism on homelessness. People do. That's the first thing that they think. People are crazy and are addicts, and that is not true. These are barriers. And these are barriers that we call life. We all go through things in life. Let me tell you this. Everybody is one paycheck away from homelessness. You ain't got no job. You can't pay your bills. You're going to be homeless. Okay. If you lose a loved one, a mother, a father, a daughter. Look, I just lost my daughter September the 6th, 2021, but I'm still sitting here. But some people take death in a whole different magnitude and they fall down. They have jobs. They have homes. They have families. But it's this thing that we call life. And everybody deals with life issues, life struggles in a different magnitude. So let's talk about the barriers of homelessness. Yes, we do have a lot of people, and I want to say probably about 70% of them, well, not 7, let's say 55% of them, 60% of them, mental illness. And that is a barrier that really truly needs to be addressed. And we need to be mindful that we cannot house individuals who are symptomatic. They're not going to be able to pay their rent. They're not going to maintain the unit. They need services. And those are services that we need to implement for them to help them become self-sufficient, to take self-ownership. Yes, we have drug addiction. Drug addiction usually comes from somebody being broken. Some usually comes from a household of generational people using. And I'm gonna keep it real with you. There's no color line with addiction. No matter what color you are, anyone can get addicted to any type of drug. and drugs can consume your life and cause you to become homelessness. That's a barrier. So we need more rehabs. We need more sober livings, but we need those type of programs that's going to meet the people where they're at, and that's at the brokenness, at the heart. You got to come with love, but you also got to come with realness. And I'm here to tell you, the people will love you back and they will respect you, because they don't want the gummy gum and the cupcakes. They need someone that's really going to speak to their heart and edify them. So we do have those barriers. And then you have the ones, let's talk about cost of living. In California alone, a 1-bedroom, a studios, $1,300-$1,400 a month. A 2-bedroom, $2,000 and up. If you're making $17 an hour, how are you going to be able to afford the rent? If you have a wife, if you have children, a husband, a boyfriend, whatever, you have a whole family and you're only making $17 an hour and your rent is $2,200, you're going to be homeless. It has got to the point to now whether you pay your rent or eat noodles, and that's where it's at. So people are like, okay, well, we can live in the tent and we don't have to worry about paying the rent, but we can eat. So we have to address all the barriers. That's why it's so important to meet the people where they're at and listen to their stories. These are real stories out here. I don't go out here and say, look, I'm going to give you the moon. When I meet them, I say, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How you doing? My name is Miss Katrina. I give it to you straight up with no chaser, and I'm always 100. And I said, and I'm here to listen to you, to hear your story. I'm your advocate. And once I hear their story, we sit down and we talk about a plan. And I tell them all the time, now I'm going to go to work, but I'm not going to work no harder than you work. You know, it's a two-way street. You got to help me, help you get to where you want to go. Because my job is now is to go back, talk to my supervisors, talk to management, bring the plan. But I can bring the plan wholeheartedly when I know their story. The problem is people ain't taking the time out to listen. Because, you know, the media is going to show like the ones that are mentally ill. And there's some people out there that are truly mentally ill.
Shouldn't be there.
Need services. There's some that needs inpatient services. Inpatient, off the streets, in a locked facility, 6 months to a year, or whenever to get them stable. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
And then you have the ones how the media is painting all this picture with the tents and people living homeless like this is all they want to do. That's not true. People just need someone that's really going to ride with them, want to understand them, listen to their story, and validate them as a human being. Once you do that, we could change the faces of homelessness. But we got to stop coming out there. We got to give them hope, empowerment, and love, and God. I rock with God 24/7, 365, and realness. Realness.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Whew. All right. We're out of time. I knew this would happen, but I want to make sure that y'all are aware of this event that's coming. So that you can go. It's a Live Your Mission sponsorship dinner party where self-ownership equals great success. It's February the 11th. I should let you talk about it because it's your event. But I'm doing a good job, right?
Yes, you are, Dr. Marissa.
Just go. So I'm going to be there. I'm there, media coverage from 6 to 7. I've been kindly invited to attend. There's dinner, presentations, and entertainment from 7 to 11. It's at the Chateau Banquet Hall, Slauson Avenue in I'm in Long Beach, in Los Angeles. Special guest, Senator Connie Leyva, and
local agencies. We're all out here doing the work. You have Jaime Rare Breed. He is the CEO. The executive member of Ceasefire. He also is he's one of the board members for United with Peace, who conducts all the peace rides out here in Los Angeles. They have had Nick Cannon and other celebrities come out to ride for the victims that has been slain, or young victims that has been slain on the streets by any type of violence. And they give support to the families implementing change. And you have B. Mike Robb, who is one of the producers, the executive producers from BET. He has his own entertainment, and he goes out here and he is really a truly soldier as well, giving back to the young people, speaking to the young people. As he say, when he opens up on the microphone, it's God, family, and education. And then you have Skip Townsend, the CEO from Second Call. They have a life skills program that is phenomenal. And what they do is they take individuals who's coming out of jail, out of prison, and they offer these life skill meetings, and they put them back to work in careers as journeymen. Their apprenticeship program, they give them a life-changing career.
Right.
And then you have Kamisha Allen, who is the CEO of the HP Foundation. She also lost her son several years ago in a drowning accident. She is also my cousin. And what she does is she helps families, mothers, fathers. She helps them with funeral expenses. She offers grieving counseling, and to help them navigate through the process of losing a child. And then, of course, you have Pastor Raymond Walker from Elevate Christian Church, who is my pastor from Phoenix, Arizona. I have been under their leadership for over 20 something years now. And I just, like I said earlier, I lost my daughter on September the 6th of 2021.
How did you lose her?
In a car accident.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
She was 22. She's also my driving force. Her and Gary is my driving force. I'm here to tell you. Actually, Gary had the opportunity to meet my daughter. She came up to the shelter. She was phenomenal. She was a model, Miss Arizona Black Teen, and she just did a lot of things, but she was broken. She had some issues internally that she was dealing with as well. That's why I'm pushing hard for the young people. And so Pastor Walker, the Elevate Christian Church family, has been so supportive. He rocks for the young people. And we're all coming together to bring change. That's what this event is about. We need sponsors to come in to sponsor our programs. Yeah. Because I have a sponsorship program, y'all. CFH, Changing the Face of Homelessness. We're not out here just talking. When we go out and do our outreach, if a person or individual or individuals have a mindset ready to change, we take them off the street with no income, low income, and we give them a bed and we bring them into a home. No charge under our sponsorship program. So we most definitely need to keep that funded. So come out, RSVP, because it is a closed event, so you have to RSVP. Come out, listen to our program, eat some delicious food. We're going to have live entertainment. We're going to have our young people, y'all, our young adults from our TAY program. Some of them are going to be performing. We have B. Mike Robb bringing out his young people that he works with that's already in Hollywood. They're going to be performing. Of course, we're going to be speaking. And then, of course, now, I'm a performer too. So I'm going to bring it. I'm going to bring it hard with my young people because this is what it's all about. We want to have fun too. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have door raffles and prizes. And we do have some art that we're going to raffle off, some beautiful art pieces. So this is a community uniting together, y'all. And we need your support. So come out and support us. Get some raffle tickets and become a sponsor today.
You heard it from the source. Katrina Williams, contact at www.cfh2021.org. It's right there in the ticker, so write that down. I will be there. Asian Oprah will be interviewing on their carpet and meeting people and spreading the word of a solution to homelessness. The last question I ask my guests is, to who or what are you grateful for?
I am grateful for the opportunity to, let me back this up. I'm grateful to be able to go out here and to do what God has put on my heart to do, and that's to love. and to edify people. I lost Gary, who was a client that was struggling with issues. Last year, we did the breakthrough event on Skid Row. We had Skid Row closed, and we brought hope, empowerment, and love, and food, and clothing, and housing, and entertainment. But then the next week, I got the call that my daughter was gone, and I had to go back to Phoenix and take care of her. And through her is why it's important to live your mission. Live your mission. Self-ownership equals great success. Now we gotta love, y'all. We gotta love. So I'm coming with the power of love, the power of unity, and the power of God. And let's go get it. Let's make the change today.
Thank you for sharing your heart. I love it when my guests cry, because then I know that I see their heart. Tears are the disinfectant that keep your heart soft. So thank you for sharing that with me. Bless you. God bless you. He continues to bless you through your work. And I'm honored to have you on my show.
Thank you, Dr. Marissa. You rock. And I'm super excited. I can't wait to see you there at the event.
This is Dr. Marissa reporting live from my loving room, reminding you that it's all about balance. Katrina, will you do this with me? Peace in, peace out. World peace through inner peace. Go forth and multiply the love that you are. We'll see you on February the 11th at the event. And remember, have the best day ever.